the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. This is Remembrance Day in Canada. People gather at cenotaphs and memorials in cities, towns, and villages to stand silently with heads bowed. We stand often in the freshness of mist of the fading fall, sometimes the penetrating stings of winter's first storm, occasionally bathed in the golden clarifying autumn light. Why? Why remember? We take part in this day for many reasons. Some remember friends and families they've lost. Others search for the meaning and understanding. Still others explore the history behind the day. Many who simply want to say thanks to the thousands of individuals whose names they've never spoken, whose names and hands they've never held, whose faces they've never seen. Today we will remember in different ways, among them history, novels, poetry, letters, and songs. You'll be hearing from your friends and neighbors. This presentation is our small way of saying thanks to everyone who has helped us to this day, to everyone who made this country generous and fair, to everyone who sacrificed yesterday so that we might live for a better tomorrow. We begin with a special graduation.
In the spring of 1915, Dalhousie University had a special early graduation so that the young men who wanted to join up and fight right away could still graduate and go. It was the university's way of supporting the war effort. The mother of one of these graduates was asked to sing at the special convocation held for these 12 young men. Anna MacDonald talks to herself about the singing of a special song at the convocation ceremony.
Standing here in front of this crowd, the Chancellor, February, a convocation in February. I mustn't think about that, the strangeness of the time, of a woman actually taking part in a ceremony like this. I feel sort of underdressed. This gown without a hood or cap just doesn't look fancy enough. I don't even want to wear the gown. It's like I never earned it, like I'm wearing a disguise, like I don't really belong here. I suppose Paul is my passport, my invitation to the podium. But why? What really did the Chancellor expect when he asked me to sing? Is this a celebration? We're giving thanks because our children want to die for king and country? I know I don't understand that, but I know what's expected of me. Somehow war seems so much for men. The excitement on Paul's face the day he came home and told us about his enlistment and this special convocation. Well, you could read the glory and the service on his face. Oh, and his father, well, he was like a child at Christmas, not a doubt, not a care in the world. I'm supposed to ignore what I think. Just be a mother, quiet, accepting, knowing my place. Know my place. I suppose this is just another one of those times to put on a face, the moment of pretense, to smile through fear, to ignore my apprehension about losing Paul. I mean, more than him just going away, I can't stop thinking about him dying. The sparkle stolen from his eyes, the laughter stripped of breath. To ignore this doubt, to get up in the morning after he sails. Today, this moment, to sing and not to cry, to smile and not complain, to speak and not regret.
With the cross of Jesus.
of the young men signing up thought they were signing up for something fun. Brothers and friends from the same village or town imagined a trip overseas, at least an adventure away from home. Many 15-year-old boys lied about their age just to be a part of this great adventure. How surprising basic training would have been. How shocking to meet their first sergeant major. Camp Aldershot, Nova Scotia, 1916. The one, the only, Sergeant McQueen.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Although every nerve in my body, including my backside, tells me there's not a single gentleman in this lot of would-be soldiers. You there, pay attention. That's pay attention, not standard attention, although there'll be plenty of time for that later. Today, you become part of His Majesty's Royal Canadian Regiment. You will be expected to serve your regiment, your country, and the deity of your choice. That's God of your choice for those of you who only like to use tiny little one-syllable words. You'll be expected to serve with dignity and valor. This, lads, is the first day of glorious service in king and country. I am Sergeant McQueen, and it is my most pleasant task to turn you sorry lot of, pardon me, you pathetic lot of refuse into a proud fighting machine. I have few expectations of you, very few, but you will get to know them very well. These expectations will be constantly refreshed in your memories for those of you who have the capacity to remember. I shout them at you as you climb over high walls and wallow about in the muck and the mire. We will have fun, gentlemen. We will have fun. Oh, and one thing. If ever you fail to live up to my always reasonable expectations, I will personally tattoo your backsides with the sole of this very boot. Just a friendly little reminder from Sarge. Now, listen sharp for dear Sergeant McQueen's expectations. When given a command, you will obey. When I shout out your name, you will respond. And finally, you will not die until such time as I permit it. I will have no favorites. I can barely stand the lot of you as it is. As you prepare to leave your cozy little Canadian homes, you will find yourselves in a new family, the regiment. And as with all families, there are mothers. I am one of those mothers. No, not the kind you are used to, I can assure you. If you ever feel the need to speak to someone, tell it to the Padre. I certainly don't care. Lad, you look a little homesick. There's only one mother who will tuck you in and kiss you goodnight, and it isn't me. Pay attention, Mr. Jones. You're in the Army now. No private rooms, no telephones. You there, Mr. Green. You're in the Army now. We like our barracks nice and clean.
won't worry you anymore. Kiss me goodnight, Sergeant Major. Tuck me in my little wooden bed. We all love you, Sergeant Major. When we hear you fall and show away, don't forget to wake me in the morning and bring me round a nice hot cup of tea. Kiss me goodnight, Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major, be a brother to me. Gonna hang out the washing on the Siegfried line. Have you any dirty washing, mother dear? We're gonna hang out the washing on the Siegfried line, 'cause the washing day is here. Whether the weather may be wet or fine, we'll just run along without a care. We're gonna hang out the washing on the Siegfried line, 'cause the Siegfried line's still there. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. Cheerio, here I go on my way. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. With a cheer, not a tear when you gave. Give me a smile I can keep all the while in my heart while I'm away. Till we meet once again, you and I. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly. Farewell, Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there. This is the army, Mr. Jones. No rockets or telephones. You had your breakfast in bed before, but you won't have it there anymore.
No sergeant, even a Sergeant McQueen, could blunt the impact of trench warfare. Nothing could have prepared these boys, our men, for the order to attack, the order to leave the ugly, uncertain safety of a trench for the barbed wire and bullets and mortars of no man's land. If they hated Sergeant McQueen a lot, they hated the trenches so much more. Our unknown soldier finds himself at the end of time in the trenches of Vimy in 1917.
Time stands still. Seconds turn into hours. My friends and comrades die like insects, lured into a trap. The trap is set. We are slowly being poisoned. The thundering crash of grenades eats at me, making my heart pump, making my head ache. There's no escape for me now as I lie in this hot, wet trench. Blood-soaked clothes and throbbing wounds. I think of home, way the grass smelled in the spring. Why am I here? When will it end? How much longer? How did I get here? The questions don't stop, and the terror sets in. No sleep for days. Fear of bombs could be over any second. It is too much. It is all too much. It's hard to think positive. Maybe I should give up. Let myself rest. Will anyone notice if I'm gone? I know I'm fighting for my country. I know I'm fighting for my family. I know I'm fighting for my home. Wallowed up as stones. Gravestones, the roses scattered among them. The fresh smell of spring, the chill of sorrow in the air. Will it be worth it? We who survive must remember. We must remember it all.
We often think of war simply through the eyes and experiences of men, those in the trenches, on the front lines. To do so dramatically oversimplifies the impact of war, all war. The next monologue explores the understandable bitterness of one woman. She has lost, sacrificed, more than should ever be asked. How do people survive situations like this? It's not surprising that people won't speak openly about their wartime experiences. It is simply too hard to relive moments and events best ignored, and yet they are never forgotten.
Oh, how I always wanted to be wise. To be able to, at this age, explain the problems of the world to my grandchildren. And yet, it's my own grandson, Alec, who thinks he'll solve all these problems by fighting another war. No, I tell him, it's not the way. War is the way your grandfather Sinclair lost his life. War is the reason your mama grew up without her daddy. War is the reason I beg of you to save your own life. But Alec doesn't listen to his grandma. What does she know? Alec sees glory, and I see heartache. Alec sees victory, and I see pain. Alec sees his glory and his victory. I see a nation of people full of heartache, full of pain. Sinclair went to war when this country was worth fighting for. But we will never live in that country again. And there never, ever was a country worth dying for. Yesterday I went to Sinclair's grave. The forget-me-nots I planted in the spring were all dry and crisp from the brown fall winds. The leaves, once so bright green and full of life, crunched beneath me as I sat by the stone. I could smell death, the death of the leaves around me and the grass I was raking my fingers through. The musty smell of moss on the headstone. R.I.P. engraved in it thickly, thick enough that I could trace each letter with 2 fingers. But my husband will never rest in peace. Not when he died fighting for it. And not when his own grandson is willing to do the same.
Letters were unbelievably important during wartime. People's lives and relationships literally hung in the balance day after day. Those at home in Canada would watch out front windows, praying that the dreaded telegram, always announcing death, would never arrive at their home. Thousands of letters crossed the oceans every day as mothers struggled to encourage or stay current with sons and daughters overseas, as husbands and wives struggled to keep families cohesive and united even though a father or mother might be thousands of miles away. Waiting for news must have been excruciating, needing to know and yet always afraid of the knowing. This next piece helps us to understand the peculiar power of letters, helps us to understand how the ordinary things become extraordinary.
My dearest Clara, I have been away from the outside world for so long, I have forgotten what year or month it is. I hope you are safe wherever you are. I regret so much not leaving with you, but I thought there might be a chance to save what we worked so hard for. I wish I were with you now. When the German soldiers came, I was sitting on the tattered old Chesterfield when I heard them coming down the street. I heard the screams of people being tormented and beaten. I stood at the window by the desk and witnessed so much destruction. Oh, Clara, you could not imagine it. I watched in horror as our friends and neighbors were dragged from their homes and lined up in the middle of the road. Someone protested. The Nazis shot them. When they came, I met them at the door. Left our home and everything, but a picture of you. I hope you don't think of me as a coward. If there was a way to save it, I would have. But I knew there was no way for me if I were to put up a fight. I watched as our home was emptied and destroyed. I thought of you and the summer walks we took that seemed to last forever. Remember? Those were the best of times. I often close my eyes and hear your laugh. It is so beautiful, and I can almost sense you here with me. The children that used to laugh and play in the streets and are silent and still. We were told to walk, and we did. It seemed like we must have walked forever, because it seemed like so many days and nights faded into each other. But we kept walking, with little hope or knowledge of what was to come. I've seen so many people killed for senseless reasons. Those days were very dark and dismal. It was early in the morning when we heard the command to halt. We were at a train station. We were categorized into two groups, men and women and children. The looks on the children's faces were heartbreaking. They were pulled from their fathers, and they cried, "Papa! Papa!" I can still hear those cries. I am so glad I know you have escaped from the harsh and destitute remains of the country we loved so much. The soldiers boarded a train. There was barely an inch between each man. The train ride was so long, I wondered if we'd ever be able to sit again. Then I heard the jolt of the train stop, and the door to the cart opened. The sunshine was so bright, it hurt my eyes. We were placed into camps of the tortured. I fear for my life every day. The soldiers make us work hard. It has been so long since I've read a scripture. But I often pray for you, my beautiful wife. It is very crowded where I am now, and noisy also. I wake during the night many times to screams of fear. Many people have nightmares here. It is hell. You are the only thing I live for now. I look at your picture every chance I can. I wish I could remember what month it was so I could look forward to our anniversary. I've imagined being free. I've dreamed of the fresh air and walking through those gates again. When I get out, I will find you. We will be together again, my love. I pray that this war ends soon so I can find you and hold you. My darling, be strong and do not cry. I love you. I miss you. Friedrich.
The sure and present possibility of last words was everywhere in war. The sadness, the anticipation of loss was close at hand, but seldom expressed. The idea of last words had the power to simply overwhelm, on the battlefields, in the hospital, and even in the kitchens at home. Shelburne, 1943.
You can take this with you. It's from your sister.
Thanks.
This is hard for her. She's going to miss you a lot. You should stay home.
Mom, I have to go. There's a big world out there, and I want to see it.
I'm not saying you shouldn't go. I'm just saying it's going to be me and your sister here with no male help. It's going to be hard. Is the war that important to you?
Yeah. Because I got to go and defend my country, and it's all about becoming a man.
Well, I'm just speaking my mind. I don't know what you're going over there for anyway, fighting them Germans. They never did anything to you. There's other ways to get out of Nova Scotia.
Like what?
Well, you got an aunt in Ontario you could visit.
I'm not going to visit my aunt in Ontario.
Well, why not?
I'm not going to visit my aunt in Ontario, who's going to babysit me, treat me like some little kid. I am 18 years old. I am a man. It is time I start acting like it.
Well, excuse me. So you're older and wiser and I'm just a child. Do you know what you're going to war for, John? Because if you don't, I'll tell you. You're going to get a free ticket out of Nova Scotia. And if that's the only reason you're going, then you should stay home.
I'm going, and that's it. I do not want to talk about it anymore.
Fine. We won't talk about it. John, why are we arguing?
We're arguing because you're trying to treat me like I'm some little kid.
It's just I'm worried about you going to war.
You don't got to worry about me. It's all about becoming a man.
How can you tell me not to worry? I worried about you your first day of school. The fact that you're going to war scares me. You're my baby boy.
I understand the consequences of going to war. Don't worry.
But John.
Let me finish. You asked me why I'm going to war, right?
Yes, I did.
I'll tell you why I'm going to war. I'm going to war not only to defend my country, but I'm going to defend you, and I'm going to defend my little sister. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you, must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But come ye back when all the flowers are dying. If I am dead, as dead I will maybe, you'll come and find the place that I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me, and I shall hear those soft you tread above me, and all my grave shall warmer, sweeter be, and I shall hear those soft you tread above me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me.
When we think of war, we often don't consider the role that nurses played in the care of our troops. Over 2,800 women served in the Canadian Army Medical Corps, treating the wounded, administering medications and vaccinations, and offering comfort. The next reading is a letter from Sussex, England, explaining the remarkable role that British women are playing in the war. This letter from World War I is followed by a birthday from a young nurse in France at the end of another day of patching and dispatching.
In hospital, Lewis, Sussex, 1912, April 5th. My dear Lillian, mother and son, later when we arrived at the hospital in England, the night nurse met me with a smile, and right there, I cannot say too much for the British women. The work was long hours, nothing was a trouble for them, and work mostly without receiving a cent. Some of them work under trying circumstances. One girl who was looking after me, I was told, had just a week before been advised that the man that she was to marry had been killed. Another, her father had been missing for months. And still another had a husband, a prisoner of war. Still, to all appearances, they were happy, and one must guess and think otherwise. They were 12 hours a day and smiled nearly all of the 12 hours. And Mrs. Polak, who has her husband in the Navy, has met the Red Cross wounded trains for the last 2 years in Brighton, handing out stamped postcards and cigarettes to the boys. I must say that I admire the pluck of these women, these English women, their spirit in one that cannot be broken. In Canada, it is hard to realize what this war is. What a death on the battlefield compared with the poor French and English women in Belgium. Also, the Belgians themselves had to put up with it. Do the slackers on St. Catherine Street realize that their mothers, wives, sweethearts, and sisters would be in danger if it were not these English women who say to their husbands, sons, and brothers, enlist to save the laws of humanity and right. When we left for France in July, little did I think that I was one of the few in our battery to pull through. But that has been the case. It takes a few months to make a soldier, but only a few minutes to knock him out. Well, I must say goodnight with love to you all and hoping to see you soon. But getting to Canada I find a very slow business. All through my dangers I left myself to God's will, and He was good to me. Kisses to my dear little son, and I trust that when he becomes a man, war will be a thing impossible to happen. Harry.
Who would have thought that on my birthday I would be stitching up a bloody gash on some poor fellow's arm, sweltering in the blistering heat of a tent in a sticky, starchy, good-for-nothing nurse's uniform? Why did I think I could do this? My feet hurt, I haven't slept in 48 hours, and my head is killing me. Why don't I just give up? I am so tired, but so is everybody else. All of a sudden, there was a large explosion near our camp. Everything stood still for what seemed like forever, but in reality was only a few minutes. Then men were screaming, and everything started happening very quickly all at once as men and bodies were being dragged in. A surgeon grabbed my arm and pulled me over to a makeshift operating table without saying a word. Everyone knew the drill. For hours, my hands worked, and I felt like a machine. I brushed a tear off of my face, blinked back others, and continued working. Finally, when the crisis was over, I could sleep, take the rest of the day off unless otherwise needed, and I wasn't arguing about that. I lay down on a small cot, and I dreamed, tossing and turning, and I was so aware of this smell. My eyes were closed, but I felt surrounded by smell, by stench. My stomach heaved, and I ran from the tent. The smell, the gunpowder, the mud, the blood, it was overpowering. I grabbed my canteen, swallowed a mouthful of warm, tinny water, and toasted myself. Happy birthday. It was strangely quiet. I folded back the doors of the hospital tent, and I heard the ragged, joyful sounds of happy birthday. As every doctor, every nurse, and every soldier started to sing. My nursing partner, Vera, walked up to me holding a single candle. "Make a wish," she said. I did. I wished that this darn war was over soon. And then I blew out the candle.
Last night I had the strangest dream I've ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed there was a mighty room filled with women and men. The papers they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the papers were all signed and a million copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads and grateful prayers and prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, while swords and guns and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I've ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war.
If life had only been so simple that all you had to do was pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. Perhaps this feeling explains so clearly the impacts of songs like Pack Up Your Troubles, Roll Out the Barrel, There's a Tavern in the Town, and When You Wore a Tulip. It's simply a grand and fun way of putting reality aside, not to mention getting a little drinking done as well. It's not hard to see why these rollicking tunes have stood the test of time.
Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. While you've a Lucifer to light your fag, smile, boys, that's the start. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. Roll out the barrel. We'll have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel. We've got the blues on the run. Sing boom torero. Bring out a song of good cheer. Now's the time to roll out the barrel, for the gang's all here. There's a tavern in the town, and there my true love sits him down, and drinks his wine with laughter free, and never ever thinks of me. Farewell, for I must leave thee. Do not let this parting grieve thee. Just remember that the best of friends must part, must part. Adieu, adieu, kind friends, adieu. Yes, adieu. I can no longer stay with you, stay with you. I'll hang my harp on the weeping willow tree, and may the world go well with thee. You wore a tulip, a sweet yellow tulip, and I wore a big red rose. When you caressed me, 'twas then heaven blessed me. What a blessing no one knows. You made life cheery when you called me dearie. Was down where the bluegrass rolls. Your lips were sweeter than julep when you wore a tulip, and I wore a big red rose. Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. While you a Lucifer to light your fag, smile, boys, that's the start. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
We do not know when our hearts will overflow with sorrow. Sometimes it creeps up on us unexpectedly while sweeping the kitchen floor. Other times it leads us to the final resting place of those we have lost, shedding tears for all the plans, the hopes, the dreams, which are now gone far too soon. The next pieces cast a glimpse of how differently sorrow can present itself. First, a graveyard in Lunenburg, 1943, then a kitchen in Stewiacke, 1916.
How many times we talked about names. Round and round the list we'd go. I wanted to name him after my grandfather, Alex. Aaron insisted upon Aaron. We argued about it until I won. Well, partly. We decided on Alexander Aaron, unless, of course, she was a girl. In that case, Aaron wanted to name her after his grandmother, Elizabeth. I worried that Elizabeth would get shortened to Betty or Betsy, but after all, what's in a name? Everything. Everything when you can't say it and have someone answer you. Someone to come bouncing down the stairs when you call them for supper. What's the point of a name when there's no one to hand a Christmas present to, or a cookie, or a project we'd crocheted together? These names are silent now, never answering, never responding, teasing, or testing. They are fixed in time, chiseled in stone. Elizabeth Catherine Andrews, 1943, died at birth. I remember that day very well. It was the middle of the afternoon and it was warm, a hot, dry summer heat. My mother came over to help because Dr. McIntyre had gone with the rest of the men. But it was too early and too late. When I think back to that day, what I remember is the terrible heat and the pain in my mother's voice when she said the word strangled. She took the baby and we buried her here. Soon there was another grave. Aaron Duncan Andrews died October 1943. Aaron. I don't remember his passing at all. My mother said that the funeral took place in the misty rains of October, and that there was a peculiar golden light in the western horizon, as if the day couldn't decide how to be. A fitting kind of uncertainty for a terrible, uncertain time. I remember when they sent Aaron's medal home. It was Christmas time, and my family tried to hide it from me. Didn't think I should see it, so that Christmas wouldn't be forever a time of bad memories. But I wanted those memories. I needed to pick up the pieces of what was left after their dying. My husband of less than a year, and the daughter that neither one of us ever got to hold. They expect you to fall apart, to lose contact. Afraid to say something for fear it might hurt you, afraid not to say something for fear it might hurt you. And so you are left alone, to cry, to mend, to accept the ugliness that war brought into your life, to accept the impossible, to forgive those people who took him away from me so soon. I want to forgive. Sometimes I even want to forget, but I can't. Their lives mean far too much for that. We've got to remember, even the things we would rather forget. We must remember them all.
Well, everyone's talking down over to the store. My father even heard meant militia's got to be true. There'd be no reason around of all this talk about seeing the end if it weren't there. It's got to be over. 2 years, that's the limit. We heard it everywhere. It's got to be over soon. Maybe home in time for exhibition? I can't believe after all this time Will's really coming home.
I know, dear. It can't all be talk. Oh, thank you. I'm getting fumble-fingered again. There. It's just, well, it can't be all tongues flapping at both ends just because it's tied in the middle. Everybody fighting over who missed them the most, like they're, I don't know, quilts or sewing or something. That's not right. And like it's, the more you miss them, the better person you are. That's not right either, but then again, who's to say? We miss them all. It'd be good to have them back again, especially Willie, my little boy. I know he's grown, and he's plenty old enough to be writing in his letters about getting married and such, but
To me, the memories are all young. When I close my eyes, I can see him. My little boy. He's only up to here on me. I miss him so much. And I worry about him all the time. I never should have let him go. Should have grabbed him by the ear and trotted him right back up here from the depot.
But Mrs. McBride, what would everyone have thought? Will he not go? That'd put shame on him. It'd not be right stand in his way like that.
Well, perhaps. Mothers are supposed to be quiet and strong. If that's the way it has to be, that's the way it has to be. Crying quiet and alone in our kitchens when the youngsters are out or in bed. That kind of winter face doesn't sit well with me. Doesn't suit any mother around here. That's the only face we're allowed to show.
I know how terrible you must miss him. But there's no need for fretting over lost time now. There's summer days for Sharon just ahead. And after that, the fall harvest with Will at home driving the team. Lately, that's just so certain, Claire. That's what matters now, not the worried wondering and waiting. I know how much you miss him. We've only been right serious for 2 years now, and I could hardly bear his going away. But he's been yours since the beginning, and even before that, too, I suppose. Mother, it seems like there's no one closer than that.
Oh, I don't know. It's the worry. Every minute of every day. And then you get a letter. And it's all right for days, maybe. And then that slow worry comes back again.
Those letters just save me from... I just don't know what I might have done with myself. Sometimes it's like there's someone else inside of my head, and I don't even know the tiniest bit of myself. And then a letter. You always peek to see if it's in his hand, kind of bold with all that mess of scrawl inside. When I'd see one, I'd practically shred it getting it open. And then I'd read it, not even hardly waiting for my mind to catch a scrap of meaning. Kind of like holding that tiny scrap of paper was enough. Like we was connected in some way by me rushing through that letter. And then I'd read it and read it again and again, and I'd sleep with it under my pillow. Might have been 2 or 3 weeks old by the time it got here, but it was from Will, and that's what matters.
I'd tuck mine in that box over there, and in real worrying times, I'd take them all out, and I'd read them over and over and over again, all his good words. There's no danger here. I'm all right. Food's not like yours, but it's okay. I'm wearing those socks that you knit me. It seems like we get strung out between letters, like they're the only real things we've got.
I don't see thinking like that. The letters count because Will sent them, and he's the real deal. And before you know it, he'll be walking down that lane, coming in through this door, and handing you his last letter. And knowing him, it'll be a surprise, too.
It's like the time he carved me that little fawn for a birthday gift. And never let on all day that he remembered it was my birthday.
Oh, it's hard not to love him when he's like that. I love your son so much, Mrs. McBride. I hope you understand. I didn't know how hard until it seemed he was really coming home.
I suppose. It seems he's so close to being safe and home. It's hard not to get lost inside that wonderful moment.
And start planning a wedding, maybe, or at least a homecoming to suit him. I just know he'll want to start right off getting married. No sense waiting. We've got a family to have.
And grandchildren to look after.
beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest?
The sun, now it shines on the green fields of France. There's a warm summer breeze that makes the red poppies dance. And look how the sun shines from under the clouds. There's no gas, no barbed wire, there's no guns firing now. But here in this graveyard, it's still no man's land. The countless white crosses stand mute in the sand. To man's blind indifference to his fellow man, to a whole generation who were butchered and damned. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Young Willie McBride, I can't help wonder why. Do those who lie here, do they know why they died? And did they believe when they answered the call? Did they truly believe that this war would end war? But the sorrow, the suffering, the glory, the pain, the killing, the dying, was it all done in vain? For young Willie McBride, it all happened again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they sound the death march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Did the band play the last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest?
Letters During War provided a way to tell the truth, to hide worry, to pay a tribute, to cool anger, to encourage, to reach out, to justify, or perhaps to finally explain. This letter from Afghanistan reaches across the world to a far distant Minnesota home. These words reach out in a sharing of uncertainty, the certain yet unnerving words of every warrior in every war. It's as as if ever-present death must always be ignored or denied. A simple strategy seen clearly in the scorching light of days ahead.
Hi, Mom. Good to hear from you. I'm doing fine, whatever that means in this context. Stories are touchy. I suppose I can share a few tidbits with you. We get a lot of rocks thrown at our convoys by children. The first rocks were thrown at me in a poor part of town by an 8 or 9-year-old girl wearing an expensive-looking shimmery blue dress. The convoy passed slowly. She waved and gave the thumbs up, so I waved and gave her the thumbs up back. Her face turned to a scowl. She picked up a rock and threw it at me. She chased the convoy for 300 meters and threw 8 rocks, none of which hit. Then she flipped me off. Last week, just after dusk, on a busy street corner in town, a boy threw a rock at my truck. It hit my turret shield. An older man, gray beard and robes, turned and decked the kid, full force. My jaw dropped. The kid fell to the ground. The man kicked him, then stood over him, shouting and waving his hand. At that point, the other boys who'd been throwing rocks stopped. 2 days ago, we did security for a few hours on a small street between 2 busier roads. Another man kept coming to the window of his house and looking right at us. I was starting to get suspicious. Then, some boys came along, looking for food or money or hats. When they didn't get anything, they went to the truck behind mine, picked up rocks, and started throwing. After about 5 minutes of continual pelting, the man came out of his house, took the stone out of one boy's hand, and cast it to the ground, lectured them, and then waved his hand for them to disperse, which they did. I waved to him, he waved back, and then went back into his house. The people here are mostly friendly. They wave and give the thumbs up as we pass. If I initiate the wave or drive-by thumbing, at least 70% reciprocate, many with a big smile. Some don't respond, others scowl or flip us off. Every now and then, one will point at us and make an explosion gesture, or pretend their arm is a rifle and shoot. Nevertheless, a significant majority of the people here seem genuinely goodwill towards us. These are all men, of course. I have no idea what the women think. They float about the city like colorful ghosts, mere fabric, hovering in the sandy wind. It's warmer here than it is there, but we did get a micrometer of snow last week, some rain. I'll be home in March for 2 weeks. I'll let you know my dates when I find them out. I'll probably find them out 2 days after I'm in Rosemount. I'll probably spend 5 or 6 days of the 14 in a hotel, however. I need a break from people. Well, gotta go. Guard shift starts in 20 minutes. Love you lots, Andrew.
Refugees are just as much a part of war as soldiers, and nurses, and families and friends. Such is the case for Judith Thompson of Myers Grant, who here shares excerpts from the World War II diary of her mother, Ilse, recounting her experience as a German Jewish refugee in northern England. They are interwoven with letters to Ilse from her mother, Asta, whom she called Moody, in Berlin, Germany, before she was shipped to Auschwitz, one of the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis. Ilse was 15, her brother Hans 17, when they arrived in England on the Kinder Transport, literally translated to child transport, in April and September 1939, respectively. Ilse's diary begins in January 1940.
Dear Diary, I have been here in England for 9 months. I'm writing this diary to let you know, Mutti, everything about my life, more than I can put in my letters. So when you come over, you'll be able to see everything that I've been doing. My journey with the kinder transport went off very well. Not a single child cried. We all made jokes, sang Hebrew and German songs, and walked from one compartment to another, offering candies. On the ship, I heard people speaking English for the first time. I thought the English I learned in school was pretty good, but boy, was I ever wrong. But people were nice, even when I struggled to understand, and I've picked it up quite quickly.
My thoughts early this morning are with my dearest ones so far away, and yet you are all so close to me. I spoke to our pappy in the cemetery this morning, and you are so much like him, my golden girl. You will understand that I'd like to chat with you a little now, just like my very best friend to whom I can confide all my thoughts, good and bad. Now that Hans is over there, do ask him what he needs. He never likes to ask for favors. He'd rather eat dry bread than ask for help. I feel that giving help is a human necessity, and this has been uppermost in my mind. I am astonished at how wonderfully you are being treated. Please convey my greetings and thanks to your hosts for the affection and care they've lavished on you, a complete stranger after all. It's great with what courage you accept the situation as it is. Life holds so many disappointments, especially for an active and lively person like you. One has to take things as they are, not as they might be. But you know, my darling, it is very necessary that you continue your education. It isn't good enough these days just to be a stenographer. Experience you can get by practice, but education has to come from within. School lessons just aren't enough. The main thing is to keep your good health and look to the future as I have to do, in the hope that we can all be together again soon.
Nearly a year has gone by since I wrote in this diary. The reason why is too awful. I was told not to by the police. They took away my diary, and I had to go to court. All because I had joyfully written to Hans that I had a radio to listen to music in my own room, and did not know this was forbidden for enemy aliens. I was charged with controlling a radio apparatus, and the woman for whom I work as a live-in maid was charged with aiding and abetting. She was very angry. I really don't like the way she makes nasty remarks about the German people right in front of me. But of course, I mustn't say anything at the present time. Even my fellow refugee friends now only talk English with me, to be on the safe side. I've never been so unhappy in my life, and other things have added to my misery. Hans is now in an internment camp in Canada, but I can't tell this to Mutti in any of my letters, of course. As a B certificate enemy alien, he was suddenly picked up without any of his things. I had to go to his refugee hostel and take his big, heavy suitcase all the way to Pontefract on a bus. When I arrived, there were about 100 family members who had been waiting there for hours. And suddenly, they told us we all had to leave without seeing our loved ones or leaving the things that we'd brought for them. Some women fainted, and I was very close to tears. But I remembered the Girl Guide law. A guide sings and smiles under all difficulties. And I took this to heart, more or less successfully.
Dearest one, I have been waiting to be in the kind of mood necessary to read to reply to your dear letter. Do you know, even though it isn't my birthday yet, each day that I receive a letter from you feels like a birthday to me. That's how much I enjoy reading them.
My first thought on waking this morning was, today is Mutty's birthday. I keep remembering how each year, until 3 years ago, Hans and I were more excited about her birthday than she was herself. And I just received a really long letter from her. She had at last received my letter and is so very happy to know I'm fine. Her letter is so lovely, so personal, so fresh. No, Mutty will never get old, even if she can no longer walk or see or hear. She'll always be young. I realize more and more how grateful I am for my upbringing. I have inherited Mutty's head-through-the-wall willpower and Poppy's enormous creativity. Miss Prager says, when Ilse wants something, she has it already. I wish I could tell her one thing, though. I have joined the army. But of course, I cannot tell her that in my letters either. I will do anything to help the war effort, even though they made me a cook instead of the office jobs I'm now qualified for. It's hard work, and last week, my 19th birthday was a bit sad. Nothing happened to mark it, and it was 12 hours straight cooking and cleaning for the convoys. But over the last few days, I got some parcels, including several bars of beautiful Canadian chocolate from Hans. I hope to hear from Mutty's soon. But Hans's news is not good. He has heard there's a new edict in Germany which forbids Jews to use any means of transportation. Thus, Mutty cannot even visit Poppy's grave, which is on the other side of Berlin. What can I do but pray and hope, as always?
Isn't it wonderful? Today, on my birthday, I'm still able to be together with Selma and have a cup of coffee with her. When I arrived home after putting in a night shift at work, I found your dear letter by the slot. I cannot, at the moment, enter into discussion, but the last year has been difficult, with the awful winter and depression and food so hard to get. I was in a constant state of fear of being fired, fear of the dreadful cold in the flat, and the sickness Edith's mother had to endure has made us all very sad. I'm daily thankful to God that I have not yet caught this illness. But one day I said to myself, if you want to live, you have to fight. And this I did, and I seem to have succeeded. I know I must not think of my 60th birthday, nor the wonderful ones in the past with Poppy and you two. I'm praying to God to continue to help and sustain me despite everything in the joy I receive from you. What else can I tell you? That I am constantly waiting for the day that I will have you both back with me? Dearest, you know that I will always be yours to the end. And I believe God is with us always. Somehow, I do have faith that all will come out well in the end. When I get your letters, it is a holiday for me.
When I went to Manchester on Wednesday, I found a letter from Mutty, which I don't like at all. She talks of some kind of illness and how she will be going away soon. All this underhand coded information is just terrible, and I'm very much afraid for her. This thought accompanies me day and night, especially when I sit down to a good meal, which happens all the time, I think of her lack of food. I would very happily forego my portion if I could thereby help her, but of course, I cannot. But in my present frame of mind, I have requested to be transferred out of the officers' mess. The food these officers get is much better than that in the general mess, but they turn their noses up and make jokes about how bad it is. I don't consider it war work to cook for these officers who sit in their offices all day, then take their seats at the polished dining tables in their own mess, getting served as in a restaurant, and then complain. There are a lot of English people, never mind our soldiers at the front, who don't get food like this, not only Mutti and the Jews. I much prefer cooking for convoys who do important war work. I cannot change the officers, but they cannot change me either.
My children, strength hardly enough to bear things, but unavoidable. In any event, keeping courage. Be calm and stay sensible. Am well, awaiting your news. All good wishes, 1943. I love you never-endingly, living only in the wish for our reunion.
February 16th, 1943. I felt terrible yesterday because of what we heard on the 9 o'clock news. All Jews have to be out of Germany by March the 31st. Here is the exact quotation from this morning's paper. Not one Jew is to be left in Berlin. Even now, they are no longer allowed any food rations. This means that Jews have been condemned to death. How can Mutti be any exception to such decrees? Dying itself would not be so bad, but such a death? When I had another one of those terrifying dreams the other night, that she was being burned alive on our former Berlin playground on Fehrbelliner Platz, I didn't quite realize how closely this was foreshadowing actual events. Although I don't quite feel as numb today, I know that I can never be totally happy and carefree again. At least not until this war is over. And I even doubt now that Mutti will ever read this diary. If she did, it would have to be a miracle, like the parting of the Red Sea in the Bible. What hope is there left? There is, however, another way of thinking. This does not only hit me, but thousands of us here in England and elsewhere. Thousands of people lose their husbands, etc., in this war, and they have to endure, get over their loss, and survive. I will try hard to pick up myself and continue my present duties. By cracking up under the strain, I won't be of use to anybody, least of all myself. Whether Mutti will stay alive and read this diary someday or not, I will continue to write down my thoughts because this is my way of sharing my emotions. And I comfort myself by playing the piano in the common room for her, as Poppy did at home, and singing the lullaby she always sang to us. Guten Abend, guten Nacht, von England bewacht, die Dear Christkindleinsbaum, schlafe selig und süß, schau im Traumsparadies. Schlafe selig und süß, schau im Traumsparadies.
"4 weeks after her last Red Cross message, Moody was picked up by the Gestapo and sent to Auschwitz. She did not survive. One of the astonishing things about World War II was the strengthening of the human spirit. How is it possible, in the time of civilization's most destructive moments, to find hope, to find moments of quiet and grace? How did we know that hope is never obsolete, out of date, or forgotten? White Cliffs of Dover help people restore their belief in the power of faith and in the power of the human spirit. It was a kind of dream song full of words that said, no matter what, the world will be a better place.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after. Tomorrow, when the world is free, the shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see.
In Flanders Field by John McCrae. In Flanders Field the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field.
The meaning of silence. The meaning of silence, it doesn't mean anything. It's just quiet. But even when we're in our moment of silence, it's never completely quiet. You can always hear the sound of a chattering squirrel or the knocking of the branches. I always hear the sprinkle of hail on the ground or the raspiness of someone's cough. The same sound I've heard each day for the last 24 years. The same sound that the men and women have heard for at least the last 60 to 70. Except for those days that they earned those shiny medals. When our moment of silence is drowned out by the sound of gunfire and cannon fire, just the sound of their friend gulping the last breath. God, how wonderful it must have been when the cannon gave way to lull, when you could hear yourself cracking your very own knuckles. Yes, that sound of silence, how incomplete must have felt awesome. Maybe that's the meaning of silence. To have a moment to ponder and wonder. Just give thanks to the men and to the women that made this country generous and fair so that we can all live together.
Musquodoboit Valley Honor Roll, 1914 to 1918. Private Frank Gloucester. Private Roy Alexander Chaplin. Private Augustus French Benvey. Private Charles Alfred Lydiard. Corporal George Gilmore Lydiard. Private Henry Stanley Burnett. Private Allison Hood Farnell. Lance Corporal Angus Hutchison. Private Neil Watson. Private John Fleming. Lieutenant Ralph Douglas Reed. Private David Victor Warner Eisner. Private Frank Parker Lay. Private John James Henry. Corporal E. Grant McCurdy. Private William Walter Logan. Sergeant Daniel Spencer Reed. Private Joseph Clark Greeno. Private George Johnson Parker. Private George Dean. Private Arthur Franklin Fox. Sergeant William Douglas Burris M.M. Corporal Donald Calderwood Reed. Private Victor Middleton Hanna. Gunner Frank Logan. Gunner Cecil W. Ellis. Private James Burton Miller. Private George Gilbert. 1939 to 1945. Sapper Donald Franklin Higgins. Flight Sergeant Donald Theodore Taylor. Private James Edgar McEwen. Trooper Malcolm Mackenzie. Private Private Foster Irvin Rogers. Private Aubrey Brown Higgins. Pilot Officer Frederick Willis Logan, DFC. Private William Wilkes. Private Kenneth Sidney McKean. Lance Bombardier Lloyd George Dean. Private Raymond Lewis Miller. Company Quartermaster Sergeant Irvin Klein Myers. Guardsman William Eben Brown. Afghanistan, 2001 to 2014. Corporal Andrew Wilfert. Sergeant Darcy Tedford, Corporal Thomas James Hamilton. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor their years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Fare thee well, ye banks of Sicily. Fare thee well, ye valleys and shores. There's no Juck will mourn the loss of ye, for bloody soldiers are weary. Pipe is tuned and he's piping away. He'll not come to town for his vino today. The sky like antrimol, cloudy and gray, and the tune he is playing is eerie. Fare thee well, ye banks of Sicily. Fare thee well, ye valleys and shores. There's no Juck will mourn the loss of ye, for bloody soldiers are weary. It's marched down